In this video, I'm going to show how I replaced the rear driver's side parking brake cable on this 2001 Dodge Dakota. This video was originally part of a larger project that I tried to document, in where I replaced the wheel cylinders, the parking brake cable, some brake lines, and showed the disassembly and reassembly of the drum brake mechanism. But it all seemed to be a little bit too big for one video, so I broke things up into separate videos during the editing process. If you're interested in any of those other parts of this project, you can check my channel for some of those other videos that I've uploaded. Okay, while I was under here dealing with the brake lines, I decided that I was going to change the parking brake cable here as well. So you can see here that it is broken right here. So now the task is going to be to try and remove the rest of the cable here. And as you can see, it routes from behind the drum and up through this hold down and then up here to the splitter. So it looks to me like there are some clips right here that kind of hold it into the drum. So what I'm going to try and do is squeeze these clips and pull it or pry it out of the drum, and that should release the main part of the cable from. Okay, so that's pulled through. Now, what I want to try and do is release this lever from the end of the cable. It's in here pretty well with rust, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to pry this or not. There we go. Okay. So that did come off fairly easy. So there you can see the broken piece. I'm going to try and pull the spring out of here. And I'm not sure if that's clipped in or not either. There's just so much rust here. Okay. There we go. Whoop, that broke. Okay, so I ended up breaking it. Now I'm not sure exactly what comes with the new cable. Hopefully it comes with a new spring. I guess I'll find out. And there's the other end of the cable. The next thing that I need to do is try and pry the cable away from this cable stay. Okay, so I've got this kind of pulled out of the sheathing a little bit, and you can see here that this is the, I don't know what you want to call this thing, this is the splitter or whatever. This is just held on to the other cable up here by just kind of a crimped over piece of metal, and so it's just going to take a pair of pliers or a screwdriver or something to just pry that out of the way, and then this should come right off. So with that off, now the next thing to do in removing this is there's another sort of spring clip similar to what was on the back of the drum. I'll just need to squeeze that with the pliers and then just kind of work this out of this. Okay, after some pushing and prodding, you can see how that was sort of clipped in there, and it took about 3 hands to get that thing out. And so now, to get it off of the bracket, I'll just separate the cable from the sheathing. Okay, as you can see there, I had to separate the cable from the sheathing by pulling it through. And so that should do it for the disassembly. Okay, so I'm over on the driver's side now, and before I get started with the drum reassembly, I need to try and figure out what I'm going to do about the parking brake situation. So I've got the new parking brake cable, but it didn't come with this spring. I may just put it together like this, and it'll still it'll still have some spring action with it. So now I need to reclaim this adapter, or whatever you want to call this thing, bracket. But it's pretty well rusted to the end of the old cable, so I've got it soaking with PB Blaster, and now I'll probably just try to pull it apart with pliers or a vise, or beat it off with a hammer and a screwdriver or something like that. So this cable isn't identical to the old one. It's similar, but it's not identical. It's got this little tiny rubber cheapo grommet or seal on this side, which is what I expect is supposed to go on the side of the drum. So that is how I will orient it on the frame. So I decided to pull the old rubber gasket off of the old cable and put it on the new one here. I think that'll serve me better than this thing. So next I'll start reassembling the cable to the truck by putting it through the bracket there on the frame. So that just clips into place. Now I can put this part on the end. I should be able to put this on just like this. Rather, like this. And then I can kind of get it lined up, and then I'll need to pull on it a bit to get it through. And then there's a little tab here. I don't know if it's visible in the camera, but that'll need to be bent back down, and that just helps prevent the cable from working loose. Okay, actually I think that broke off of there, so, well, we won't worry too much about it. To get the adapter, or bracket, or whatever you want to call it, into here onto the other cable, I've got the tab bent over a little, and I was able to just snap that on, and now that'll kind of slip back over there as it was. And I'll just bend that tab back out of the way just to help prevent anything from falling. This end will go back into the back of the drum, just like this, and then the spring clips will hold it back in. Of course, this is a little tricky with one hand, but I may have to put the camera down to kind of fish that back in, but you kind of get the idea. That'll just clip back in, this grommet will flip back over there, and that should be it for the cable on the truck, actually. Okay, it's the next day, actually a Monday, after work, and I checked a bunch of auto parts stores here in the state of Connecticut, all along my route to and from work, and nobody seems to have this particular spring. I imagine I could probably get it through the dealer, but I didn't feel like going that route. Probably would have had to order it and everything, but none of the aftermarket, normal auto parts stores, Napa, Advanced Auto, AutoZone, O'Reilly, any of those guys, nobody seems to have this thing even available for sale for a 2001 Dakota. So I'm just gonna, against my better judgment, I'm just gonna put this thing back together like this. It'll stay, it'll sort of function, it won't be perfect, but this is an old rusty truck, so I'm just gonna make just. Okay, so you can see here I've also got a couple of files out, and in order to get this thing to slip over the cable, I had to file some of the rust out of the inside of the old spring, and I also had to file down a parting line on the end of the cable here in order for this to slip over. So I'm just going to slip this over and get it kind of set back where it should be, and then I'll set the lever back in place as well. Okay, as you can see, I've got the parking brake lever reattached to the cable, and I've got the spring, kind of jammed in there as best as I can. Of course, it's in two pieces, and it's kind of, screwed up there, but it's better than not having anything there at all, I guess. And in order to kind of get everything back together, what I had to do, as you can see some vice grips there, I pulled on the end of the cable to get as much slack out of it as I could, and then I used some vice grips here to kind of hold the cables in place. This one holds the passenger side cable from sliding back this way. You can see it's kind of wedged in here in the bracket. And then the other set of vice grips over there keeps this cable from pushing back on the cable. When I was trying to put the spring on, it wouldn't push this back through the sheath and back that way. So now that that's all on, I can remove those vice grips and start reassembling the brakes. Okay, I've got both sides adjusted now where I think they're fairly close. The automatic adjusters will take care of the rest. Now, what I want to do before I put in any fluid and start bleeding brakes and checking for leaks is I'm going to test the parking brake just to see how that's working. And we'll give it a try here. And it feels good. It's not going to the floor anyway. And let's see. I can't seem to spin the wheel at all, so that means it's holding it at least a little bit. The real test will be when I get the wheels on and everything's done. Now let me see if this releases. That did come up. And now let's see if this is free again. Yeah, it feels free. I'll probably need both hands to spin it here, but there. Okay. So it looks like I'm ready to put some fluid in, but once again I've run out of time for the day, so I'll have to try that again tomorrow after work. That's all the footage I have for the parking brake cable replacement on this 2001 Dodge Dakota. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to subscribe or leave a comment, feel free to do so. Thanks for watching.